Alan, welcome to the show. First of all, where are you coming from today?
Well, Brett, thank you so much for having me. I am honored to be with you, and I am coming from beautiful Appalachia in western North Carolina.
Oh, very nice. So I'm not too far from you. I'm actually in Rock Hill, just outside of Charlotte. So
Oh, okay. Yeah,
yeah,
we're neighbors
we're
practically.
close. Can you let the listeners know just a little bit about your professional background before you got into real estate?
Well, that's a long story.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to grow up. Somehow I graduated from high school, very lackluster performance, went on to college, had a very lackluster performance, graduated, got married, went from dead end job to dead end job to dead end job, and finally my wife had enough of it, and she ended the marriage, and that was my rock bottom moment. I went into psychotherapy for the first time in my life, and it was like a light switch. It was one day I was totally blind, the next day I could see, and for the first time in my life I really started seeing all of these uh, core strengths that I had looked at up until that point in time as being weaknesses suddenly became my primary strengths, and that's empathic understanding and unconditional positive regard. And so I went back to school, got my master's in counseling, got a university counseling position, and completed my PhD, and found tremendous fulfillment as a professional in higher education. And that's when finally I started getting my feet planted financially. And so I started investing in real estate, realizing that exchanging my time and expertise for money was probably not the smartest thing in the world. And so I started investing in real estate and developed a phenomenal amount of wealth in a relatively short period of time, but did it really pretty accidentally. And then 2008 hit, and I lost my job, my identity with that job, and I lost a good portion of the wealth that I had built up at that point in time. And through those very, very dark days, I looked back and I could see that I was still that seventh grade boy consumed with homophobic self-hatred. And even though I had a PhD, I still saw myself as intellectually inferior. So as looking at those, I came out of a closet bigger than a Kardashian's and embraced my fabulous gayness, and at the same time identified my reading, writing, and spelling challenges as the dyslexia that it has always been. And I looked at what I had accomplished with real estate and realized that I needed a whole lot more education. So I started getting educated, went into a mastermind group, hired coaches, and I changed the way that I do my real estate totally and completely, from a hands-on approach to a totally passive approach. And that is where I am today.
And what do you mean when you say leverage to the max?
Well, I was leveraging these properties like 95% loan to value on these properties, and that was fine until suddenly the downturn hits and people can't pay their rent. I can't pay my mortgages, and everything just turned upside down overnight.
But was there a way that you could think of, or um, maybe looking back at some of the people that you did learn from, that you wouldn't do again?
Well, I actually wrote a blog post on this. there's a lot of gurus out there in the real estate industry, and of course they all claim to be knowledgeable and have all of the perfect answers. Well, I was just really quite naive, and I didn't really do any research beyond just one or two different gurus out there, and I was basically flying by the seat of my pants. And so, looking back on that, how would I avoid that? Well, I would really get a true education in terms of real estate investing, and not just take the word of someone who has a published book. And in fact, these gurus that I was following, that there was actually just one in particular, had several published books and had been publishing really for a couple of decades. But he had one plan, and it was that one plan is to essentially keep leveraging properties over and over and over again. And if I had broadened my education at the time, I could have protected myself and preserved my assets through that downturn, like some of the more knowledgeable and experienced operators actually were able to do.
And the difference in the passive versus active in this syndication in the multifamily space, do you feel that you need more capital to start with if you were coming from the passive direction than you were in the active? Because in the active, I can do some things based off of the way that the deal is acquired to basically generate some of that. But for that passive side, you really need to have that cash in hand, right?
Well, not as much as what most people think, and certainly the professionals I work with, any professional who's been in their profession for anywhere from 5 or more years, probably have the $50,000 to begin with, which is generally the minimal investment on the passive side of it. There are occasionally opportunities for $25,000 or so, but generally speaking, what you need to look at is $50,000. And most professionals have that. Either they have it in retirement accounts, they may have it in the equity in their home, they probably have various life insurance policies that have a cash value to them, and they probably have a CD or so here or there. So it's very likely that most professionals who've had any success in their careers probably have the minimal amount to get started in passive investing. What is next for Allen? Well, we are in the process of putting together a foundation, and the foundation is in conjunction with the name of the company, 𝗘𝘀𝘁𝗁. We're developing a foundation to develop a place for autonomous horsemanship to grow, which is aimed at re-educating the equine industry to help them realize that they don't have to have a slave-master relationship with their horses, that they can have a mutual and caring relationship with their horses. So that's what's next.